Hi guys, welcome to Light Screening, the channel for movie lovers more than movie savvies. And today I would like to talk to you about Charlie Says. So Charlie Says is about these three girls of the Manson cult that have been incarcerated in California for the murder spree of 1969 in Hollywood. They are Lulu, Katie, and Sadie. So these girls in this movie have been incarcerated for 3 years now, and it was the time when the death penalty in California was transmuted into life sentence, and so they just stayed in death row because they were supposed to be killed, but then they aren't, so they stayed in death row, and this is 3 years after they've been arrested, and they are still in death row all alone, feeding each other the same ideas that Charlie Manson had fed them, and they are afraid of putting him into the general population because they are afraid that they contaminate the general population with the ideas of Charlie Manson. And what are the ideas of Charlie Manson, for those of you who don't know? So Charlie Manson is this drug-induced lunatic who charmed young girls, or young people, but mostly girls, very young girls, into believing into this kind of new age bullshit, you know, and turned them basically into slaves, into people who did whatever he wanted them to do. And why do I say new age bullshit? And let me clear that up for you. He used, and this was the Power Flower generation, he used these concepts of freedom and love for one another, and respect for earth, and living off the land, and absolute freedom, and being okay with your own body, and acceptance of one another, and of your own body, and of your own characteristics. He used this, and this message is valid. It's a new age message, and it's more valid today than ever, and we're still evolving, if you will, and I do believe this, evolving into that, into self-acceptance, and acceptance of one another, and freedom, and love, and acceptance of your own body, and of your own characteristics, and being okay with it, with whatever they are, and being okay with other people's minds and bodies, and that is more valid than ever. But he then twisted that into saying people that if you have boundaries and if you have limits, then you have an ego, and if you have an ego, you have to kill it because there are no boundaries, and people have to give their bodies, and they have to do whatever he said, because if they didn't, it was their ego interfering. Well, let me tell you something. We do have egos. We come into earth with egos, and we do have to kill them, but in our own terms. So when somebody tells you, and this is so common, when somebody tells you, you are not doing this that I want you to do because you are not okay with your body, you are not okay with yourself, you're not free enough, you are not strong enough, you are not okay with yourself enough, because I want you to do this and you don't want to do this. They are manipulating you, and you own your own terms, you own your own body. And why am I saying this? Because Charlie Manson turned these girls into whores. Okay, basically, and there is a difference between freedom and debauchery, and there is a difference between freedom that others want for you for their own agenda, and your own freedom. And your freedom says that you can set your own rules, and you can set your own boundaries, and it's okay to be okay with your body and saying, no, I don't want to fuck you, and I don't want to fuck your friend. Please girls, please know this, okay? So Charles Manson picked up these little girls and these little boys, and he brainwashed them into doing whatever he wanted, and he treated them as a trademark, as a coin. Okay, he gave them and their bodies and their minds and their actions into the highest bidder to serve his own purposes. This is a cult leader Be careful with this, okay? And then it escalated. If you know something about Charles Manson, and I read some stuff, and then I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I wanted to know more, so I read some more. It escalates. So he has his own ambitions, and he wants to be a singer-songwriter. This movie also portrays the famous connection with Dennis Wilson from the Beach Boys. And when he fails to do that, he escalates, and drugs may have something to do with that, you know. That brain kind of, well, popped at some time, and he escalated into this concept of a racial war. He kind of twisted the Helter Skelter of the White Album of the Beatles, the Helter Skelter, the song from the Beatles. He kind of twisted those lyrics into making his cult believe that that they were about to embrace a race war, and they had to be ready, and that's the basis of the murders of 1969. He also believed that he himself and the Beatles were the new messiahs. So that brain kind of fried, and that what happened. And he had a bunch of little girls and little boys who followed them, and you know, it escalated into killings. So back to the movie, and I'm sorry for the ramblings, but I would like to know what you think about all this I said. Not just the movie, but also all this that I just said. I would like to know what you guys think. Mary Harron is the director of this movie. She did a lot of TV. She did American Psycho. From what I've seen from her body of work, she likes these dark themes, you know, crime, sex. What else? This was based on a book called The Family by Kathleen Faith, who's also a character in this movie. Actually, the movie is about that. Is about a teacher that is brought in, Kathleen Faith, exactly, is brought in to teach these girls and to give them some sort of, give them back their their own criticism about their own actions, their own ideas, their own opinions. The director of the prison brings in Kathleen Faith to try to make these girls have a mind of their own, not just what Charlie said, you know. But anyway, this is based on this book by Kathleen Faith, who's also this character of the teacher, who actually existed, and it's written, the script is written by Guinevere Turner and Ed Sanders. Also, the girls are played by Anna Murray. Lulu is played by Anna Murray. She did Game of Thrones, for instance. This is the most interesting character of the three girls. She's the most doubtful of the doctrine. You know, she's the one that has questions. She had questions in the cult. She has questions afterwards. And she's the one that kind of sometimes still has a mind of her own. She's the easiest to rescue, let's say. There's also Katie and Sadie. I'm going to start with Sadie. Sadie is played by Marianne Rendón. She did Imposters on TV. She did Gemini and Mapplethorpe. I think Mapplethorpe is not out yet. I'm not sure. And there's also Katie, played by Sosie Bacon. She did a lot of TV. She did Loverboy when she was 10 years old, and she did 13 Reasons Why. Katie, and I left it for the ending, played by Sosie Bacon, is a haunting performance. For some reason, I still remember her character. And she was strangely and hauntingly similar to the original character. I googled it, and they were alike in this Sosie Bacon in this movie and in the original are the same, and that is so creepy. And for some reason, her mind, her face, her expression, the fact that she was completely brainwashed, this character, haunts me. And if I'm going to remember anything about this movie, it's this performance by Sosie Bacon. There's also Matt Smith playing Charlie. There's Merritt Wever playing Kathleen Faith. This is a very experienced actress. She did Birdman. She did Into the Wild. She did Michael Clayton Signs. She did a good job here. Let me tell you what I think about the movie. And maybe I'll start by the performances. I'm praising the performances. I'm okay with the performances. Again, Sosie Bacon was haunting. Karlene Faith did a good job. Even Hannah Murray. But at the beginning, it kind of felt fake, and let me explain this. It felt fake, the girls, the performances of the girls, and let me explain this. And I'm sure they did a great character. They built the character quite accurately, and they did their research, because in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, these characters are portrayed in the more or less the same way. And what's that way? And probably this is true to life, obviously, because it's common to both movies. These girls have this posture between innocence of little girls in a very openly sexualized posture, you know, a very, like, this language kind of high, you know, and in the beginning you kind of go, that is so fake. But I think they did a good job constructing the characters, and it maybe if they just edited a little, like 3 seconds before, there are some stuff that kind of comes across in the beginning kind of fake. But then you get used to that, oh, you know, yeah, and you kind of get used to it, and you move along, and you get past that, and it works. But I felt it fake at the beginning. I'm sorry, even if I'm praising the performances, because they did a good construction, and they deliver a good performance at the end of all. Another thing that I think doesn't work at all is the writing, and I'm so sorry. It doesn't freaking work, and it is a matter of script, because there is no build. There are no clear plot points. This is based on flashbacks. The flashbacks don't have a reason why they are happening at those moments. There are no clear plot points, and there is no build up into the resolution. So what do I mean by this? The resolution is these girls owning their own mind and owning up to their actions, and seeing the awful thing that they did, and from there, from that pain, from that realization, from that clearness, comes obviously the possibility of redemption. But as long as they don't own up to what they did and why they did it, and if it's right or wrong, and what they think about it themselves, there is no redemption possible. And so that's what Karlene goes there to do, and there is no build up into that. You don't know why you're going into flashback at that moment. You don't know. The flashbacks are great. I mean, that's the best of the movie. It's a movie of its own. If it did one big flashback, it would work as well, because all the scenes in the cult, in the day-to-day of the cult, they're really well crafted, especially the sex scenes. They are very carefully constructed. But why the flashbacks in those moments? Why not a big flashback? Where are the plot points? In what moment do we see that they are evolving into that resolution? Are they evolving into that resolution? You know. So what can I say? The direction also, the rhythm of the cult scenes and the rhythm of the prison scenes, obviously two different sets and very different things happening, but sometimes it feels like there are two different movies going on. I don't know. Not the best movie I've seen. So what do I say? Finally, it's for those who want to know about the Mason cult, period. Because other than that, it's not the best movie you can watch. More than about the movie, and tell me if I'm wrong or right if you've seen it, but more than about the movie, I would like you guys to tell me what you think about what I said, of the difference between freedom and debauchery, and of the difference between ego and self-esteem, and of the sometimes these concepts being used into manipulating you, into forcing you into having attitudes that you don't want to have, and they kind of undermine your... Well, they touch your insecurities, because we all want to be more at ease with our own bodies. We all want to be more free. We all want to be more loved. And sometimes people use these concepts into turning you into something you are not. And sometimes many people give in to that. Do you want to comment on that? I would be very happy if you did. More than movies, let's talk about bigger issues, because that movie kind of raises that. Again, this is 50 years since the murders, and that's why movies are coming out about the Mason cult. It's an interesting movie to watch, to evaluate these issues. If you want to see it also because of that, it's valid. Not as a great movie, but as a great discussion. I would recommend it for those who want to see more about the Mason cult and to want to have this discussion. So other than that, Charlie says or not, go to the movies. And thank you for watching. And subscribe, like, comment. This did not happen. Hi, my phone fell. This is my big production, my car and my phone, and it fell. Comment below, please.